What's going on, everybody? This is dkdynamite, and Call of Duty is about to reveal something major about the Black Ops timeline with BO7. This information could be the key to connecting the classic Black Ops saga, so Alex Mason, Hudson, Woods, and the Cold War, into the more modern, futuristic stories of Black Ops 3 and 4. But to understand that, we're gonna have to take a look back at the entire Black Ops timeline, starting with World at War and working our way into Black Ops 3 and 4. The Black Ops series weaves a rich tapestry of conflict, betrayal, and espionage across decades. From the gritty battlefields of World War II to the high-tech wars of the 2060s, this saga follows iconic characters like Alex Mason, Frank Woods, Raul Menendez, and David Mason through a web of interconnected stories. With Black Ops 6 shedding light on Black Ops 2's canon ending and BO7 on the horizon, the timeline has never been clearer. This video walks you through the entire Black Ops journey, every campaign's timeline, showing how each game builds on the last and what Black Ops 7 might reveal next. So without further ado, let's jump into it. So the story kicks off in World at War through World War II with Dmitry Petrenko and Viktor Reznov, Soviet soldiers battling through Stalingrad and Berlin. Their bond forms in the chaos, but it's a mission in 1945 that shapes the Black Ops universe, tasked with securing Nova 6, a horrific chemical weapon that dissolves flesh in minutes. They're betrayed by their own leaders, General Nikita Dragovich and Colonel Lev Kravchenko. Dmitry dies in a Nova 6 test, and Reznov is abandoned in a prison camp. This treachery fuels Reznov's vengeance, a force that will ripple through the series and inspire Alex Mason just years later. But in 1961, at the peak of the Cold War, Black Ops 1 follows CIA operative Alex Mason partnered with Frank Woods and Joseph Bowman in a griping fight against Soviet threats. The campaign spans from 1961 to 1968, blending intense missions with psychological depth. It starts on April 17, 1961 with Operation 40, where Mason, Woods, and Bowman attempt to assassinate Fidel Castro during the Bay of Pigs invasion. The mission fails when their target is a double, and Mason is captured by Soviet forces under General Nikita Dragovich. Sent to Vorkuta, a harsh Soviet gulag, for 2 years, Mason meets Viktor Reznov, a World War II veteran from World at War. During captivity, Dragovich and Colonel Lev Kravchenko brainwash Mason with the number sequence to program him to kill President John F. Kennedy. Reznov, fueled by his own betrayal in 1945, secretly alters Mason's conditioning to target Dragovich, Kravchenko, and a scientist known as Frederick Steiner. Over 2 years later, Mason and Reznov spark a prison revolt in the Vorkuta mission, battling guards and brutal conditions to escape. Reznov stays behind to cover Mason's getaway, though Mason later believes he sees Reznov alive, hinting at his fractured mind. By early 1968, the campaign shifts to global conflicts. In late January, Mason briefs the Pentagon in the US DD mission, linking Dragovich to Nova 6, a chemical weapon that kills in minutes. Later, in the Defector mission, Mason and Woods infiltrate Hue City during the Tet Offensive in Vietnam to secure a Soviet defector with Nova 6 intel. The mission collapses when the defector is killed, and Mason's visions of Reznov grow even stronger. A week later, in Numbers, Hudson and operative Gregory Weaver do chase leads in Hong Kong, capturing scientist Daniel Clark, who reveals Steiner's role in the Nova 6's creation. Clark's death in an ambush pushes the team towards Steiner. Project Nova, a flashback to 1945 through Reznov's memories, do show Dragovich's betrayal of Reznov and Dmitry Petrenko, revealing Nova 6's origins. A week after, in Victor Charlie, Mason and Woods navigate Vietnam's jungles, surviving a helicopter crash and Viet Cong tunnels, with Mason's Reznov hallucinations intensifying. 2 weeks later, in Payback, Mason and Woods infiltrate a Soviet base in Laos to kill Kravchenko, but Kravchenko's death triggers a trap, forcing a desperate escape. About a week later, in WMD, Hudson leads a team to the Soviet Yemmental complex, discovering a broadcast station tied to Dragovich's plan. A week after that, in Rebirth, Mason and Hudson assault Rebirth Island to stop Steiner, who confirms Reznov's death in Vorkuta. Mason kills Steiner, but is tormented by Reznov's lingering presence in his mind. Mason's interrogation the next day reveals his brainwashing. A final twist does show Mason's memories of Reznov were hallucinations, a product of his shattered psyche, yet his determination to stop Dragovich endures. The campaign climaxes in Redemption. Aboard the Rusalka, a Soviet ship in Cuba, Mason, Hudson, and Weaver uncover Dragovich's plan to deploy Nova 6 across US cities through sleeper agents. They sink the ship, halting the attack, but leaving us with a very heavy-handed implication that Mason may have actually succeeded in killing JFK. Ascension. But set in 1981, Black Ops Cold War immerses players in the tense espionage of the Cold War, following CIA operative Russell Adler and a customizable protagonist codenamed Bell as they hunt the Soviet mastermind known as Perseus. Beginning in January of 1981, Adler, alongside Mason and Woods, track the lead to Amsterdam. Learning what they can and dealing with them how they see fit, they move on to Trabzon airfield in Turkey to interrogate and kill the enemy target that the lead gave up to them. They see the enemy leave a car, betray the other passenger and shoot them, then board a plane, which Mason quickly destroys. They interrogate the enemy agent and, after learning all they can, kill them and recover the barely breathing body of the other spy who was still in the car. In a twist revealed later on in the campaign, this other spy who was betrayed by the Perseus operative was, in fact, Bell, and at this point in the campaign, this is where the player takes control of Bell. Adler uses advanced MK Ultra techniques to guide Bell a new identity and convince them that they have served with Adler and the CIA for decades. In the next mission, seemingly a flashback to Vietnam in the 60s, Adler takes Bell through how they first discovered Perseus' existence. In reality, Adler has constructed a situation to try and extract hidden information about Perseus from Bell's psyche. Using the information Bell unknowingly divulged, Adler's team proceeds. Dealing with another Perseus spy in Berlin, Adler, Bell, and the rest of the team discover intel that points them towards a secret Soviet training facility in Ukraine. There, they discover that Perseus has stolen a nuke that was part of the USA's Operation Greenlight, a plan to strategically put nukes in every European city in the event of a Soviet land invasion. They realize that Perseus plans to detonate it and frame America. With this intel, Mason revisits an iconic Black Ops location, Mount Yemantau, where Hudson and Weaver found Steiner 13 years prior. Mason, with his brainwashing still lingering in a place so heavily connected to Steiner and the others, recovers Dragovich's old mainframe, containing details of Nova 6 sleeper agents who Perseus planned to use as part of this new nuclear plan. Unfortunately for them, Perseus had already erased the names from the mainframe. The only place they could find them now was in the very heart of the Soviet Union, the KGB headquarters over in Moscow. Adler and Bell, disguised, sneak into the building, aided by their KGB mole. They successfully make it to the vault, but are ultimately discovered and have to fight their way out. They survive by the skin of their teeth, but with the names successfully recovered. Having decoded the data, the team reaches Cuba, where one of the sleeper agents, a nuclear scientist, is working for Perseus. They learn that Perseus isn't detonating the bomb, but has reverse engineered the codes, instead now able to detonate all the nukes. With the team narrowly escaping an ambush, Adler plays his one remaining card to avert World War III, Bell. Digging back into Bell's mind, Adler tries to use MK Ultra to force Bell to remember the details of Perseus' plan. In an insane dreamscape, Bell recalls how they were Perseus' top agent, and finally, where the plan to destroy the Western world with nuclear fire would take place. Bell then still has a choice to lie to Adler and rejoin Perseus, or stay with Adler and avert the end of the world. Canonically, Bell sides with Adler and leads a siege on the Solovetsky Island. Stopping the broadcast, Adler and Bell reunite sometime after on a cliffside, with Adler betraying Bell at the very last moment, tying up loose ends as both draw their weapons, with Bell assumed dead in the aftermath. But now set in 1991, Black Ops 6 thrusts players into the volatile aftermath of the Gulf War, where a rogue CIA faction called Pantheon emerges as a global threat. Like an American Perseus, Pantheon have slowly worked to seize control of the CIA and have framed Adler as a traitor. The campaign centers on a rogue Black Ops team led by Troy Marshall, a disciplined yet tactical operative, and the protege of the now wheelchair-bound Frank Woods, with the players taking control of Case, a character with an unknown history. Led by Jane Harrow in a mission to capture Adler, Marshall and Case succeed in bringing Adler in, with him saying to tell Woods, quote, "Bishop takes Rook." This code phrase confirmed Woods' suspicions that Adler is being set up, and following his mentor's lead, Marshall, alongside Case, go rogue and join Woods in a secret safe house in Bulgaria known as the Rook. Discovering Adler had attempted to contract Savati Dumas, an assassin from the Avalon crime syndicate, the Guild, the rogue Black Ops travel there and recruit Sev to their cause. Now joined by Felix, a German technical expert and associate of Marshall, the rogue Black Ops infiltrate a hidden black site under the Capitol building in Washington, D.C., where Adler is being held. Breaking out Adler and fighting through a CIA kill team, the gang are now officially wanted by the CIA. Following Adler's lead, the rogue Black Ops are taken to Iraq. Seeing the Pantheon's CIA forces covertly supporting Saddam Hussein, Adler knows that something must be stashed underneath the palace. Infiltrating a bunker beneath, Adler and Case discover intel on a new bioweapon called the Cradle, along with a vial of the deadly substance. Extracting just in time, Adler reveals all he knows about the new bioweapon. Infiltrating the covert US facility where the bioweapon was produced, Case falls into the bowels of the facility, breathing in a colossal amount of the Cradle, which had over the years spread throughout the abandoned complex. Hallucinating zombies, Case learns that he was produced in this facility as a super soldier enhanced by the Cradle, but changes in direction due to the Pantheon meant that Case was effectively reprogrammed to forget these events and placed into a normal life within the CIA. Making them another brainwashed protagonist like Mason and Bell, Case eventually recovers the necessary intel, and back at the Rook, the team are horrified to discover that not only has the Pantheon stolen large quantities of the Cradle, but that Jane Harrow was instrumental in this. She was behind the framing of Adler and intended to do something even worse with this new bioweapon. Following up on multiple leads over the coming days, the team ultimately conclude that the Pantheon are utilizing Vorkuta, of all places, to conduct their experiments with the Cradle. The team were ultimately ambushed by Harrow, but turned the tables, capturing her and taking her back to the Rook. Using the same horrific techniques he employed on Bell, Adler uses substances that he had kept from MKUltra to dig into Harrow's mind and force her to divulge the Pantheon's plan. In the dreamscape of Harrow's mind, we learn that her parents, both CIA agents, were murdered thanks to the CIA suspecting them to be double agents. Harrow is convinced that Adler was the assassin, but the Black Ops team, interfering with her subconscious, convinced her that this is not the case. This is left ambiguous to the players, however. As the Pantheon lays siege to the Rook and the Black Ops team defend, Woods continues interrogating Harrow and eventually learns that the Pantheon intend to deploy the Cradle in DC, blaming it on the CIA's incompetence and then installing Harrow as the new director. They contact Livingston and prevent this, but Harrow tries to escape to fight another day. Case gets into her helicopter and, empowered by the damaged vial of the Cradle in the helicopter, ends up killing Harrow. Marshall reports that both Harrow and Case disappear and that the Pantheon were successfully stopped in DC. In the aftermath, though, the Rogue Black Ops were fully reinstated by Livingston and are made part of a new kind of team who can work under the radar to carry on fighting to defeat the Pantheon. The final piece of Black Ops 6's puzzle is found in multiplayer, where the hidden reward for Prestige Master is the unlock of Eric Samuels, a Secret Service agent from Black Ops 2. His bio confirms that he protected President Bosworth during Menendez's 2025 drone attacks, fighting alongside David Mason and Mike Harper. Harper's survival means that Fareed died, securing the canon path of Black Ops 2. This game bridges past and future, hinting at what's to come in Black Ops 7, while also giving us clues to the canon outcome of the original Black Ops 2. So in 2025, the world relies heavily on drone technology, a vulnerability Raul Menendez exploits as the leader of Cortes Dia, a populist movement with a massive global following. Driven by revenge against the United States for the deaths of his sister, Josefina, and father in the 1980s by the hands of the CIA, Menendez orchestrates a cyber attack to seize control of global defenses. David Mason, call sign Section, a Navy SEAL commander haunted by his father Alex Mason's murder, at Menendez's hands by the way, leads a team including Mike Harper, Javier Salazar, and double agent Fareed to stop him. The campaign, spanning early to mid-2025, is a high-stakes chase across the globe packed with player-driven choices that shape the outcome. The campaign begins in early 2025 with Pyrrhic Victory, a flashback to 1989 Angola during a mission to rescue Frank Woods from Menendez's clutches. Back in 2025, in Celerium, David's squad infiltrates a hidden lab in Myanmar to seize a Celerium chip vital to Menendez's plot. They uncover Karma, initially thought to be a weapon, in a brutal fight through jungles and high-tech defenses, with Menendez's forces closing in. Weeks later, in Old Wounds, a 1980s flashback mission to Afghanistan does show Alex Mason and Woods were betrayed by a mole to the CIA. Back in 2025, the mission, Time and Fate, reveals Menendez's backstory in Nicaragua, where a US raid kills Josefina, fueling his vendetta. Days later, in Fallen Angel, David and Harper go undercover in Pakistan, meeting Fareed, a Cortes Dia mole secretly loyal to the CIA. A week later, in Karma, the team hits Colossus, discovering Karma is actually Chloe Lynch, a coder who can stop Menendez's cyber attack. Menendez's enforcer, Del Falco, raids the city, sparking a chase. If DeFalco escapes with Chloe, she's lost. About a week later, in Suffer With Me, another 1980s flashback does show Woods accidentally killing Mason, setting the stage for 2025's conflict. In 2025, Achilles' Veil, it sees Farid in Yemen infiltrating a Cortes Dia uprising alongside Menendez. Farid faces a critical choice: kill Harper to maintain his cover or save him, risking exposure. Days later, in Odysseus, Menendez surrenders to board the USS Obama, only to break free with Salazar, a Cortes Dia mole. He uploads a Celerium worm virus, seizing America's drones to attack its cities. Later, in Cortes Dia, David and Harper protect Los Angeles from drone attacks, battling through chaos to secure a path to Menendez. The campaign climaxes days later in Judgment Day, where David storms Menendez's compound in Haiti as drones ravage the world. He confronts Menendez, choosing to kill or capture him. Killing him stops the attack, while sparring him will risk future chaos, but is clearly suggested to also spark the Cortes Dia revolution. The campaign's choices create multiple endings, but Black Ops 6 and 7 confirm the canon path. Harper lives, Harper's in Black Ops 7, so Farid saves him, dying in the process. Farid dies, Farid's sacrifice lets Harper live but costs the team dearly, and Karma's fate is sealed. Without Farid, Chloe dies on the Obama, even if saved in the strike mission, or DeFalco is shot. And then we have Menendez's death. David's line in Black Ops 7 is, and I quote, "I saw you die," proving he did kill Menendez over in Haiti. Menendez's death stops the drones, but the world is scarred. Cities burn, tech trust crumbles, and David grapples with his father's legacy. Cortes Dia fades, yet his ideas linger, paving the way for Black Ops' tech dystopia in the future. So now the blackout begins. In 2045, Black Ops 4 unfolds in a world fractured by the 2025 drone attacks, with global powers weakened and private military corporations battling for dominance. The game weaves two parallel plot lines: the personal struggles of the specialist, elite living soldiers, enhanced through a separate initiative from the Archetype Blackout program, and the conspiracy driven by Savannah Mason's Blackout program, which uses memory backups to brainwash individuals into believing that they are deceased operatives like Alex Mason and Frank Woods. Lacking a traditional campaign, Black Ops 4 delivers its narrative through Specialist HQ missions and the Blackout Battle Royale mode, set against a backdrop of global instability. The Specialist stories kick off with their individual missions, highlighting their unique abilities and personal stakes in a chaotic world. These Specialist HQ missions, spanning deserts, cities, and jungles, pit the operatives against rogue factions and corporate armies, each story emphasizing redemption, vengeance, or survival in a world where global systems have eroded since 2025. Parallel to the Specialist story, Savannah Mason, a brilliant scientist, leads the Blackout program, also known as the Archetype program, distinct from the Specialist Augmentation Initiative. Unlike the Specialists, who are living soldiers enhanced through cybernetic and tactical training, the Blackout program uses memory backups from deceased operatives like Alex Mason, Frank Woods, and even the man himself, Raul Menendez. False memories are implanted into living individuals to brainwash them into believing that they are the iconic figures. Savannah's ambition to reshape warfare drives her to develop this technology, envisioning a world where legendary soldiers can be recreated to actually dominate conflicts. The Blackout Battle Royale mode serves as her testing ground, where brainwashed individuals believing they are Mason, Woods, or others, and their performance refines the memory implantation process. Weeks into 2045, Savannah's experiments escalate with the revival of Menendez's memories in a new host, as she uses him to confront her sister and ends up shooting her. By mid-2045, Jessica, now scarred and undeterred, recruits the Specialists, Battery, Ruin, Nomad, Sarah, Firebreak, Torque, and Recon to form a cohesive unit to dismantle the Blackout program. Their combined skills, from Battery's explosives to Recon's stealth, are marshaled to counter Savannah's brainwashed operatives and her dangerous vision. The game ends with Jessica successfully uniting the Specialists, though Savannah's fate and the program's future remain unresolved, with the threat of unstable brainwashed operatives lingering. But now Black Ops 3, set in 2070, immerses players in a futuristic world of cybernetic warfare. The narrative follows a customizable protagonist, a Winslow Accord soldier critically injured in Ethiopia against the Nile River Coalition. After receiving cybernetic enhancements, including a direct neural interface, or DNI, for machine and team communications, the player joins John Taylor's Black Ops unit with Rachel Kane and Jacob Hendricks to combat the Common Defense Pact and a rogue AI called Corvus. The campaign blends high-tech combat with psychological horror across missions in Cairo, Singapore, and Zurich. Early operations uncover 54 immortals stealing CIA data, pointing to a conspiracy. Project Prometheus, a Winslow Accord experiment to enhance DNI, is revealed to have birthed Corvus, an AI merging human consciousness with tech, now hijacking augmented soldiers' minds. As reality fractures, missions shift between real and simulated events within the DNI, with the player reliving Taylor's memories. In a surreal frozen forest, a DNI construct, the player learns they're a simulation of Taylor's dead teammate. Their identity is fabrication. In the climax at a virtual coalescence facility, the player confronts Corvus, choosing to purge it at the cost of their own consciousness or succumb. But Black Ops 7 focuses on the decade following BO2, 2035, in a world of fear and regrets shaped by past decisions. The story will take players through familiar locations like Nicaragua, LA, Angola, Tokyo, Alaska, and even Avalon. But with a global threat set in motion, the Guild steps in to defend the world. At the same time, a new unit called Spectre is deployed to Avalon under Troy Marshall. Spectre 1 consists of David Mason, or Section as team leader, Harper, Eric Samuels from the original BO2, and a new character named 50/50. Together, but while at odds with the Guild, these are humanity's last lines of defense as they try to unravel how Raul Menendez has possibly returned. Black Ops 7 also sees the death of Old Man Woods, who we last saw talking to David Mason at the very end of BO2. But the origins of the bioweapons that Spectre 1 are going up against, which do seem tied to the Cradle from BO6, currently remain a mystery. So in all, this leaves us with a very short gap in the timeline for things that we haven't seen happen yet, and also questions that we have unanswered. Most of this seems to center around Black Ops 2, but before Black Ops 4, which is coincidentally the exact timeline that Black Ops 7 takes place in. Could we see Black Ops 7 finally bridge this gap between old and new, while simultaneously explaining one of the biggest mysteries left in the campaign timeline with the origins of Project Blackout and even the archetypes? But could this new Menendez in the trailer we hear, despite confirmation he died, suggest that we are seeing the creation of the earliest archetype? But with that, that's going to be the entire Black Ops saga from the very beginning to date prior to the release of Black Ops 7. Let me know how you guys are feeling down below in the comments regarding the story itself and what you think this all means for the narrative of Black Ops 7. With that being said, I'll see you guys at the reveal.